I am back with a February 2019 Burning Abyss deck profile. So this is after Savage Strike and under the new Forbidden Unlimited list from the end of January. I went to regional in Cardiff, went undefeated except for, I had a draw and finished second place at the event with new Burning Abyss list. So yeah, I guess you can still play the deck without snow. It actually was even better than I expected. I don't think it's better than it was before the ban list, but it didn't get hurt as much as I was expecting it to, so there's definitely still something worth playing there. But yeah, I'll get into the list and talk about some of the choices. For Burning Abyss cards, we have Baba, Seer, Calcab, Libic, Alec, two Farfers, Graph, and just one Scum. So I was playing 10 before and now I've cut down to just 9, and second Scum is gone because now I'm going to play second. Without snow in the deck, you can't really build an effective turn 1 board. So if you're actively choosing second, Scum's just not as useful as it was. Most of the time you're just using it as another name to summon, and so it's just a regular Burning Abyss card and they're not spectacular. Cutting down to 9 felt really quite nice. A lot of the time you won't even summon Beatrice anyway because you just want to finish the game in your very first battle phase, and so having Burning Abyss cards isn't that important. We have 3 Rhino Warriors, still the best BA card. Sends whatever you need, more copies of Graph, and the 1 tour guide. Obviously, without snow, you can't really play Hydroland anymore. You just don't have the ability to manipulate the graveyard, and if you aren't playing snow or Hydrolander, you're free to play 3-ofs. So I have 3 Gallus, 3 Tsushinoko, 3 Jackalope, and I still just stuck with the 2 Nessies. I felt like it wasn't a card that I necessarily wanted to see a lot of. I liked having slightly more dangers, but this is definitely the weakest one of these 3. I'd be tempted maybe to play the level 4, probably a Chupacabra over a Mothman. Never really been a fan of Mothman, but I think that these 6 are absolutely mandatory, and these are also great. I wasn't particularly keen on the new Psychic cards from Savage Strike. I felt like just being a monster that summoned itself from your hand with no kind of additional upside, it didn't seem good to me. I get that the tuner has the extra effect of destroying a card on the field, but I felt like the times when you were using it for a synchro summon, you were never actually going to be getting any value from the effect, because if you're summoning Yazi, you already have plenty of destruction anyway, both from the effect of the Yazi on the field, and then again, if you want to use a Nightmare after you've got your Mare later in the combo, just having the ability to destroy a monster on the field with less than or equal to attack of the thing that you synchro summon, just like anything that you can destroy, you kind of don't want to. So you want to end up with a monster on your opponent's side of the field that can be destroyed for your Boral Sword at the end of the combo. So I didn't feel like I was getting any value from it. It doesn't give you any opportunity to draw into new cards like Dangers. It doesn't give you the burn damage that you get from Gallus as a little bonus if you're like heading towards the end of the round. So I decided not to play it, and I didn't really miss it. Like, I think it would be a fantastic card if it could destroy back rows, but only taking out monsters, just not worth it. For some non-level 3 extenders, I was still playing the 3 whatever bursters, but I cut down to just 1 Collapse Serpent. So previously, my reasoning behind playing 2 of these is that it's really bad if you mill a second if you mill what would be your only copy of Collapse Serpent with your Dante before you summon your Wyver Burster. But a lot of the time now, if you start with Rhino or a Graph, you don't choose to mill 3 because it's not like you're trying to fill the graveyard to activate Snow anymore. Having lots of cards in grave isn't important. You still mill 3 some of the time. If your Seer is already out of the deck, you'd probably still mill 3. And if you're activating Dante with no guaranteed effect, you want to mill 3 to try and dig for the Rhino or the Graph. But some of the time now, if you already know that you've got your Rhino plus Graph combo, your Dante plus Graph combo, just mill 1. It's not worth risking hitting the Seer because the payoff for having more cards in grave just doesn't exist anymore. Being that it is a going second deck, we're still going to play the best going second cards in the game right now. 3 Destrudo and a Mare. It's exactly the same as it always has been. You make all the plays that you can, and then you follow up with a Destrudo at the end once they're out of negation or resources, and go for your Yazi and try and end the game as quickly as possible with the Mare into Borrelsword. And given that we are going second, I've gone back to the strategy that I was using for YCS London, and I'm main decking Kaijus. They don't have to be different anymore because there's no Hydrolander, so I have 3 Thunder King Kaiju and 3 Radiant. Thunder King, chosen because it's a Thunder and it's a light. Can be a little bit relevant if you happen to draw the Collapse Serpent, and Thunder means that you can play it under Rivalry against Thunder. It's also really big. Initially I was playing 3 Thunder King and 3 Jizukiru, just because they're the biggest ones that you can get, and generally you're trying to win with Borrelsword or with Underclock into Bomber, so you'd try and give them a Kaiju and have one for yourself, reduce theirs to 0, and then attack over it with Bomber for like 6,000 damage. But I swapped out the other 3 really big ones to put in this. It has some neat synergy for being a Fiend. You can summon it to your opponent's side of the field and then put a Summon Sorceress underneath it. It means that if you've started your turn summoning a Dante in the way that didn't get you to either Graph or Rhino Warrior, you can use the Summon Sorceress, targeting this, to pull the Seer out from your deck, and then just keep bodies going for more Link summons after that. Just finding your way into a Seer is really important to keep resolving Dante and keep getting the bodies and the recursion going to get into those higher Link rating. And then, obviously, the last card in the deck is going to be Sekka's Light. I think that this is still a fantastic card. Really good for a going second deck. Obviously, I didn't play any hand traps. The list was really nice for that regard, in that most of the really oppressive, lockout things that you were seeing from Rongo or Gumblar, obviously both of those cards now banned, so you don't need to worry quite so much about decks that were stopping you from playing. We see a little bit more coming now from some decks ranking up immediately into Azathoth, but 1, they're a little bit fringe, and 2, Kaijus can deal with that somewhat, so I wasn't too worried about that. I didn't think that hand traps were necessary in the main deck, so I'm quite happy with not having played them. Onto the extra deck. Not much changed here. Still playing Borrelsword and Bomber Dragon. Link 3s, Topologic Trispina, Summon Sorceress, new edition of Decode Talker. This is a little bit as a concession for if you're forced to play first. So there aren't many options for having interaction on your opponent's turn. And having a decode with your Beatrice beneath it is about the best protection that you can get. And he also has a little bit of synergy with some of the side deck. We then have the 3 Nightmares, still playing 1 of each. Underclock Taker, Reproducus for access to Summon Sorceress, Link Kuriboh to go with your Yazi for the Mare, and then, as before, 2 Dantes and 1 Beatrice. I think the only change that I've actually made in this since before the list was I put in the Decode Talker over Curious. Curious just not worth it anymore now that you can't send Snow. And finally, the side deck. I played 3 Lancia. This is really neat against anyone that's doing warrior stuff. It's really neat against Thunder Dragons, and it gives you a little bit of protection from anyone that's trying to play any of the danger FTK silliness. I know that we've all seen the Cyberstein FTK, and being able to prevent your opponent from resolving Beginning of the End or Allure of Darkness means that they're very unlikely to be able to get the full combo off. So it's just a really good lockout floodgate hand trap. We still play 3 Twin Twisters, Card Destruction, and 3 Red Reboot. Best option to have against things like Altergeist. You want to be able to take out the back row, lock them out for the turn, and just finish off their life. Doesn't matter if they set extra stuff off Red Reboot, it's probably going to get Trispianed anyway. And then the last part of the side deck is a bit of a concession for how weak your deck is when you're forced to play first. So generally, most of your opponents are likely to tell you to go first, particularly if they know after game 1 that you've built your deck so clearly for like hard OTK line. So I was siding Imperial Order, and then 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Fantastic against Sky Strikers and Altergeists, and a couple of other fringe matchups as well. And then I had 1 more space, so I put in a Trap Trick as like 4th copy of Eradicator. If you can resolve this at the start of your opponent's turn, you probably won. It makes the game so easy at that point. But yeah, that was the list. Like I say, did a little bit better than I was actually expecting with it. I'm pleasantly surprised by how effective the deck could be under the new list. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Shout out to Team Kuribrohs and all our sponsors. Go to Card Market to get your stuff, and shout out to my girlfriend for filming the profile. Okay, bye guys.